actually be manipulated too with consciousness.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that subject matter would fit beautifully in the in the show. So let's get into that, and let's start with an explanation of what you mean by lucid dreaming, because some folks out there might not understand what we mean by lucid dreaming.
Okay.
And let's start with that.
So my definitions are when you're in a dream and you become conscious that you're in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
That is my definition of lucid dreaming.
And that is the definition, so
okay.
That's perfect.
And astral projection to me is when you actually, just like lucid dreaming, you can actually go into a lucid dreaming phase while you're doing a meditation, which we're going to try to do on the call, because I have a meditation that I sent her, 4 different meditations. A lot of people on the meditation can't leave their body and go into a lucid dream state. But some people, when they do, they go into what's called astral projection. And the difference between the lucid dream state and the astral projection is the astral projection is actually in real time. So, but that's another theory that I'm going up against, because time, I believe, actually, I'm learning lately, might not be a real reality, which we'll get into later if we talk about quantum jumping and we talk about time travel and other things like that, which to me relate to lucid dreaming too. But it takes a while to get into that. So,
well, just on that point, science is beginning to prove experimentally that what we talk about linear time applies to the physical world, if you would. It applies to the world of physics. It doesn't apply to metaphysics, and in fact, it doesn't apply to consciousness. So consciousness becomes aware of events before physical events occur in what they call linear time, and we're being able to see this with experiments. So we're able to see this in laboratory experiments that's true. So what you're talking about, time not existing as a finite thing, of now, of before, now, and in the future, we're beginning to see that as physicists, which is extremely interesting.
Yes.
And really, really quite a breakthrough.
So I did talk briefly on the last talk about the guy in Florida who's kind of been kind of ostracized, and I can't remember his name now. The guy I was talking about, what was it? The hadronic mechanics, and his name is Dr. Santilli. That's his name. We were talking about the center of the hadron. He believes to be a super dense medium that is hypertemporal and hyperlocal. And what I believe that center of the hadron is consciousness. So everything is fully conscious. The table's fully conscious. The earth is fully conscious. The wind is fully conscious. Everything that is one of the threefold reality, which we'll get into. That's a Buddhist concept that scientists aren't yet fully aware of. Some are, though. So it's one of the folds of reality is the physical reality. The other fold of reality is the nature of reality, or the thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, and stuff like that. The other fold of reality is the entity of reality. The entity of reality is the combination of both the physical reality and the spiritual reality, if you will. So that's from Buddhism, the threefold world that we live in. But science is starting to prove that with some of the things you're talking about with consciousness. So this guy Santilli, when he says that the center of the hadron is hypertemporal and hyperlocal, which means it's everywhere and every when, what you said about consciousness being able to see the future before physical reality shows it is basically because consciousness is hypertemporal and hyperlocal. So as a conscious being, we are perceiving, if there were a time, if there really is a such thing as time, which I don't yet fully believe, because all beliefs are limitations, so I don't really choose to have beliefs. I have awarenesses, and my awareness is directing me towards the idea that time bleeds, which means the past, present, and future are actually all contained within the nanosecond of all waking moments. And if that is true, then, and consciousness is local and hypertemporal, which means it can be everywhere and everyone all at the same time, then we have the ability to proceed, to go back in time, forward in time consciously at will if we become fully conscious, which is the goal of all religion. Well, it should be the goal of all religions to become fully conscious. At least it's the goal of Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of science is to become hopefully fully conscious, if that is, I hope, at least the direction that science is going. It seems to be going that way.
It definitely is heading that way. Tim, we're actually up against our first break.
Okay.
And so now it's coming up now. It's probably a good place to break it. And we're going to get into, lucid dreaming and astral projections, which are very interesting because they have been believed for more than 7,000 years. I actually did my master's thesis on the metaphysics of dreaming. And it's just amazing how many years that civilization has believed in something, and then science kind of, almost relegated it to that of nothing more than imagination and not being real and so forth and so on. And now we've come full cycle, just as we have on so many other things. So we're going to get into that topic, folks, which is obviously very interesting and very useful because this gives you this gateway, if you would, to get into the dimension of the metaphysics. But for the moment, we're going to take a short break. And by the way, we'll also queue up some of what Tim had sent into the studio as well, maybe in the latter part of this next segment. We'll make that kind of flow into the conversation as well. But folks, for the time being, stay tuned, and we're going to play a couple of commercials, and we will be back in about 2 minutes. So stay tuned.
Harness the power of positive thinking, ordaining reality.
Joe.
Okay, now Lucy, do we have that all queued up? I didn't want to put you on, but I'm assuming you can easily queue that up, and I didn't know what particular thing you had would maybe fit into the conversation of lucid dreaming.
OrdainingReality.com. And while you're there, check
Can you
out
hear
the
the
Reader's
commercial
Blog.
that's playing?
That's
Yeah, you can hear the commercial, right? Yeah. So, and Tim, maybe you know what you sent in.
Yeah, I gave her 5 audios. Oh no, 4 audios. Probably the shortest one is 30 minutes. So they're long audios, but they're like hypnosis, but we listen to them and we go into a lucid dream state if we get hypnotized. But if we don't get hypnotized, we at least get a very good healing because it takes us into a deep theta or even beyond theta state.
I mean, you have one that you think would be appropriate for maybe the last segment to play that whole.
Yes.
Just to play it.
Can you just look at the time on each one? What's the? I think it's number 2 or number 3 is the shortest one.
I don't have those. Where did you send them?
Same place I always send all my stuff that you say you don't get. Let's see. I sent it through your let's see. They're right there on your. They say sent. All 3 say sent.
Are they on the Skype?
On your Skype, yes, it says sent. Probably the second one says 27.4 megabytes. That's probably the shortest one. The other 2 show 40 megabytes, so that's probably longer.
I don't see them. Joe, do you see them?
No.
Yeah, shoot them on in there again.
Okay, well they're showing on Lucy Diamond's Skype, right? I'm seeing them there. This message has this one says this one has been removed. Okay, same place I sent all my stuff that you didn't get. Okay, so I've sent all my audio to all my 3 CDs. Okay, so I'm gonna send them one more time on your Skype.
Why don't you just send the one that?
Yeah, just send the one that you want me to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Then we don't get confused.
Okay.
More time.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, let me find it now.
yeah, I've got just about a minute.
Okay.
Whenever he does send it, you'll see it too. So.
Yeah, now I'm trying to find it again because it's in documents.
I search online? Or?
Yeah, it's on your messages. If you look up, go up your message screen. It shows right there. It says sent. Three audios.
Oh, how long ago would it have been?
The day you asked me for them. About a week or two ago.
Okay, hold on.
I'm trying to find them too. Hold on, let me see if I can find them. I just have so many things on my computer and my new Windows.
Okay, there you go, Joe.
And we're back, and of course, you're listening to Ordain Your Reality and your host, Dr. Joe Donlan. And of course, I'm here tonight with Tim Janakos, and we've been talking in the first segment of the show, well, a little bit about healing and different healing modalities, but we're going to get into dreaming and astral projection in dreaming and lucid dreaming, which is all part of this, and it is an entrance, if you would, into the whole realm of the metaphysics. And one of the reasons at least I contend this is so, is that it opens up right hemisphere, which is really architecturally designed to enter into this realm. But normally speaking, with every day-to-day activities, it is under the control, if you would, of the left hemisphere. That's why, by the way, and that's why, by the way, that meditation works so well to get you in touch with, outside, if you would, of your own body and the senses. But anyway, so Tim, we talked a little bit about what is lucid dreaming, which is effectively that time when you're having a dream and you're very aware that you are dreaming. And I have this an awful lot, and I've talked to several people, and I think it's a very common thing that it's a little scary sometimes, because you say, I can do anything. I jump off a building, I can do this and do that. And sometimes you say, oh my goodness, I sure hope I am dreaming when these things happen. But so I know this is also a way to get into astral projections as well. So, and the studio, by the way, has another an audio that we're going to play on the third segment, Tim, that we did get that, so we're going to play that. But we're going to be talking a little bit about astral projections on this session. So, what is your own experience there, and what kind of recommendations, Tim, do you have for folks to tap into this? Okay,
there's a really good free book online. It's called The Phase. T-H-E, second word phase, P-H-A-S-E. The Phase is a book that's about probably 600 or 700 pages, free PDF book online by the School of Out-of-Body Experience, or OB Institute. The OB Institute has been started in Russia, but it's all over the world now. So they do classes all over the world, and they have about 3 or 4 books actually, but that's the longest book, The Phase. And it's the great thing about the book, The Phase, is that once you learn that you're becoming lucid in your dream, you can learn how to control it, which is what I never was able to do until I read that book. And now I'm even going beyond that book into other ways of using it to heal people and do other things. So what you want to do is, if you ever think you're dreaming, the first way to do it is either to clasp your nose, which I'm going to do right now. So you hold your nose, you try to breathe, and you can't breathe. But in the dream world, when you do that, you'll be able to breathe right through your clasped fingers, which you'll know that's impossible to do. So for me, that's always the first sign that I'm dreaming.
Okay, so in other words, you're in this lucid dream, and some people would want to pinch themselves, but in your particular case, what you do is to test that you're actually in it?
Yes, you hold your nose shut and you breathe through your fingers.
I see. Interesting.
So if anyone tries to do that now, who's listening in, you hold your nose, you can't breathe, right?
Right.
But when you do it in the dream state, you're going to know this is not regular reality, or something is totally changed about the laws of physics. So once you realize that, you have to know how to deepen the phase. And so they call the phase all out-of-body experiences. So they call out-of-body experiences lucid dreaming or astral projection. They lump it all into one thing called the phase, or the phase state consciousness. I don't really like that definition because it assumes that all of them are the same, and I don't really assume that all of them are the same, because when you astral project, you're able to actually see things that are really happening right now. So once again, going back to the book by David Wilcox, he shows studies where they took people in the Pentagon and they were able to put them in a meditative state and have them go into another room and take out classified papers and read them and bring them back. And they can't physically do that, otherwise people would see them and kill them. So they did it in the dream state, and they came back and they told the people about what classified files they read. And they said, how can you do that? You have no access to that room. He says that's what's possible in the astral projection state. So that's when the Pentagon had to take astral projection seriously. So if you are astral projecting, if it's raining outside when you go to sleep, it should be raining in the astral projection state. If it's night when you go into your astral projection, you should go outside, it should be night. Now what happens when you go into the astral projection state is sometimes you will go outside, it'll be night, it'll be raining, but you'll see something that used to be in the same location where your house was thousands of years ago. And that's because time bleeds. So anyone who thinks they look at a person and they see them shapeshift is only because they're seeing time bleeding. So if you look at a person's face and they're all of a sudden start shape-shifting into something else, it's because you've had some kind of energetic, either you're having an energetic connection with their past lives, or you're able to see them in all the different phases they've been in through all time, which is why they look like they're shape-shifting, because they were creatures, or they were Roman emperors, or they were, whatever. You're going to see those in the people, and that's why people say they're shape-shifting. And they're not. You're just noticing that time bleeds, and the time bleeds more in certain areas than it bleeds in other areas. So you can walk down the street in some areas and you can see things and you can say, wait a second, did I just see a guy walk by in a costume? And the other person will say, no, I didn't see a guy walking by in a costume. So either you're hallucinating or you're seeing the time bleeding, and most people are realizing that time is bleeding because it's not a linear program. So there is no such thing as really past, present, and future if you become fully conscious, because you're hyperlocal or hypertemporal, which means you transcend both time and space. So that's the difference between the astral projection and the lucid dream. Is it happens in what some people call real time, but I wouldn't call it real time because time isn't real. So time is a creation, which we need to talk about. The laws of physics are the immutable laws of physics. But in consciousness, there's what's called the mutable laws of consciousness. And the mutable laws of consciousness are where you can change the laws of physics. So the laws of physics are based on causal reality, which is based on algorithms. And when you become fully conscious, you become an algorithm interrupt, which fucks with the laws of physics, or transcends the laws of physics and stops the laws of physics, or speeds up the laws of physics, or transmutes the laws of physics, or transmorphs, transmorphication. It transmogrifies the laws of physics. Mm-hmm. And what's the other one? We're getting into the 9 trannies, which in Buddhism is called. So in Access Consciousness, which is one of the many healing modalities, is about becoming fully conscious. They talk about 9 trannies, which are these magical abilities we have if we become fully conscious. But in Buddhism, they call them the supernatural powers of the thus come one, which is anyone who becomes fully conscious is a thus come one, because you come out of the reality that people call reality, which is actually sleepwalking, and you become awake. And the Buddha is called the awakened one because he actually was the only one at the time who was awake. And so once you learn how to master your lucid dream state, you'll realize that the waking state that you're in is actually sleepwalking. So the reason why the laws of physics work in the sleepwalking state is because the laws of physics are the immutable laws of physics. They can't be changed in the sleepwalking state. But once you become awake, which is a Buddha or enlightened being, which everyone is, but they're sleepwalking, and you master the lucid dream phase and the astral projection phase, and you master the waking phase, which is actually sleepwalking, you'll realize that the laws of physics don't no longer fully apply because you become an algorithm interrupt, which all the laws of physics are based on algorithm, and all algorithms can only be probabilities, not possibilities. So all probabilities is based on what's happened before, and as we learn throughout history always can become something beyond anything we ever thought was possible. No matter what it is, we thought we couldn't fly. People thought it was crazy that we can fly. Now we fly all around the world. We think it's, and we saw Star Trek back in the 80s and in the 70s, and they had this phone thing that didn't have a line, and people were like, that's crazy. That's that's science fiction. And now we have them all over the place, and we just think it's normal reality because the laws of consciousness transcend all the laws of physics. So all the laws of physics, if you become an algorithm interrupt, which is basically a fully awakened person, you step out of the dream, which is the sleepwalking state that most people are in. Because when you're in the sleepwalking state of normal waking reality, you are controlled by algorithms. You are controlled by only what's ever been happened in the past, not what could happen in the future. But when you become fully conscious, you become a time traveler, or you become a hyper-dimensional being, which is hyper-local and hyper-temporal, and it allows you to step out of the laws of physics. So that's kind of giving you everything in a nutshell, why you want to learn lucid dreaming and why you want to learn to become conscious. But anyway, that was a big mouthful. Whoops. Did I get...
Sorry, the idea, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea that time is an illusion has been presented actually by a number of physicists. I have an entire chapter dedicated to that and explain within quantum mechanics that we prove that time is an illusion. And there's many books out there. I actually have a colleague that wrote, Julian Barber, English, from London. He wrote The End of Time, and he kind of gets into that. He makes the argument that although the mainstream laws of physics support the notion that, observations create the illusion that there's a flow of time, there's, according to him, and I have my own theory on that, a slightly different variation of it, that it's really kind of almost a trick that fools us into thinking that time is real.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really a man-made invention. It's not real. And by the way, we just very quickly, and I get into a whole chapter on this, but the idea that we know, without a doubt, within quantum mechanics, that time, by definition, is different for every living creature. So if it's different for every living creature, it cannot independently exist. That's just a syllogism. You can't have it. It can't be different for every living creature and then independently exist. And so that if it is, in fact, Einstein was one of the first ones to kind of discover this, even though he didn't realize he was discovering it when he had come up with some of his own ideas, especially that of a photon, when he said that the photon is traveling at the maximum speed limit of the universe, if you would. But interesting enough, at photon travel, the photon doesn't age and there is no time. So he's actually contradicting the fact that there's a present, a past, and a future, because to a photon it can get from one end of the universe without incurring any of its own time. And he didn't really realize this from his equations, and it was later just kind of understood when people such as I went back in and looked at a lot of what he had written about. But anyway, but just to kind of punctuate that point, we are beginning to understand as physicists that time is, in fact, an illusion. It's almost like quantum trickery, if you would.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just got a note from the studio that the shortest file is about 29 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to play. That's an appropriate file to play. So we're going to play that on the last segment of the show. So we're going to take our break at about in about 5 or 7 minutes, and then play that last segment, and we'll run right up until 8:30 on that, Tim.
Perfect.
That makes sense. So as you were saying, this when you're into lucid dreaming, it actually opens up, if you will, a portal for us to get into other things. So, kind of, from your perspective, give us another insight into that, Tim, from your experience.
Okay, so what I've been able to do in the lucid dreaming state is dive through the ground, which is a deepening phase, or it deepens the phase state. So if you're ever in a dream and you don't have good vision, which is what happens because your body or your etheric body runs out of etheric energy, you have to do a deepening thing. So you can rub your hands together as one way to deepen, and you can look at them while you're rubbing them together, or you can focus on your hands, stare at them real close, and they'll disappear, which will deepen the phase. Or you can go up to a wall or anything in the room, and you can start palpating it, which means rubbing it and feeling it as best you can. You can lick it. You can do anything you want to anything. The more tactile stimulation you can do in the phase state, the longer you can maintain the phase state, and you can create windows into anything. You can dive through mirrors, you can dive through windows, you can dive through houses, you can fly in the air, you can just close your eyes while you're flying in the air, and you can tell yourself where you want to go in time. I want to go to Egypt at the time the first pyramid was built. And you can do a dive bomb, and when you land, you'll land there if you get enough etheric energy. I haven't been able to do it yet because I usually wake up when I do the dive bomb. But you have to do a lot of deepening so you collect what's called etheric energy, whether it's really etheric energy or not, and whether you really have an etheric body or not. It's all up to interpretation. But the more I get into what they call etheric energy and what they call the etheric phase and what they call the etheric body, the more I realize that these things that they use, these terminology that they used back in many years ago in ancient traditions, are actually what science is starting to catch up with, are actually really true. So we do have an etheric body. We do have etheric energy, which is the energy that body is maintained by. And if you run out of etheric energy, you're going to wake up again, which is what most people do. Once they become consciously awake in the dream, they wake up because they don't have enough etheric energy. So you have to right away do deepening techniques, touch everything. You have to dive through the ground, or you have to rub your hands together. You have to look up something really close and check out the fine details. All those things will deepen the phase state, and then you can get more etheric energy, and you can prolong the phase, and you can do a lot of amazing things. So what I've started to do is visit my healing clients, because I have healing clients all over the world. And when you visit them in the astral projection state or the lucid dream state, you can do what a lot of people do in the waking state, which I don't yet know how to do. Did I drop off? Because I keep hearing messages coming back and forth. Do you guys hear me? Okay. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, I'm fine. Okay. Because I kept hearing messages. Maybe you guys were checking out on me. So, yeah, I'm able to visit my clients and do healing on them, which for some people they can do it in the waking state. They can do what's called, now I forget what it's, psychic surgery. But in the dream state, you can stick your hand in your body. If you have a bad heart, you can massage your heart. You can take it out. You can try to fix it. You can do all that stuff. But the cool thing is it doesn't affect your physical body until you wake up again. And so everything you do in the dream state with your astral body or your etheric body, it downloads into your physical body once you wake up. So
Very interesting.
So you can have sex with which is what I used to do all the time. You can have sex with everybody in the lucid dream state because everyone says yes, and no one gets pregnant, which is really cool. And and my wife says it's not cheating, which is cool. So if you have any desires to have sex with people in the lucid dream, that's fun.